All right, all right, all right. What's up, everybody? We here. We're waiting on our guests to show up. Want to welcome everybody to the Black Room. Is where it's gonna get spicy. It's a different vibe. Different vibe. We're gonna really talk in detail to the shakers and movers of minor league football, at least up in my area. We're gonna try to talk to as many people as we can. What we're gonna try to do is every 2 weeks we'll do this show on a Tuesday. Um, it's on live stream straight to YouTube. And we're just gonna chop it up. We're just gonna talk football, man. We're gonna get down to the nitty gritty. You know what I'm saying? So waiting on our guests to arrive. I guess I'll kind of make the introductions for them before they get here. Um, David Patterson, Mason Morgan, two guys who love football, two guys who were running semi-pro football teams. One of the guys, David Patterson, is a New Yorker. Decided he likes lobster tails up north. And he went up, met up with a guy that he knows by the name of Mason Morgan, decided they was going to play some football. And then sat down at the dinner table and decided, yo, what if we do this thing and make it a league, and make this an every year thing. And they slowly put together a couple teams from some different leagues around the area, and it became the Independent Football Association. Now, that league I joined last year with the Connecticut Falcons. We were coming out of the TFL, Triborough Football League, and we were looking for a fresh start, a place with competition, a place that maybe was a little more familiar. Being that Connecticut is technically a part of the tri-state area, but a lot of the guys are more familiar with New England, so they're more familiar with Boston and Rhode Island, New Hampshire. So, the idea was just maybe we go somewhere that was more familiar, and it seemed to work out. And at the same time, a new team by the name of the East Coast Cardinals had came in with familiar faces. The Warhawks kind of revamped their roster and had a really good football team, and things kind of came together. This year, there was a huge debacle. Warhawks obviously went undefeated on the field. They had one forfeit loss. Ends up winning the championship. Falcons, we lost to them in the championship game. This year we came with a vengeance. We were really upset about what happened. We was upset about how we played. We was upset about some of the conditions that we were in. It was a nasty day. It just sat in our mouths the wrong way. It was a real sour taste. So we came out this year with a vengeance. We beat them week one during the season. They had a game out in Maine, and apparently the refs didn't show up. So the entire northern half of the league, they left and went to a different league. And another team that was in that area in Boston, they folded. They were never really able to get the operation going. So overnight, the IFA went from one of the top tier leagues to losing 60% of its participation, kind of put the entire league in kind of this limbo land. So we're gonna try to get the two commissioners to come on tonight and just talk, and just comment on what's going on, and we'll try to answer some of the tough questions. So we're still waiting on these guys to get here. You know what I'm saying? If anybody wants to then tune in, there we go. We got the first one in. So, without further ado, kind of made way for him, but we're gonna bring in David Patterson. We're still waiting on Mason Morgan to kind of jump in, so we'll see if we can give him a few minutes. But let's get David on the show. Hey,
Hey, what's going on, my guy? How we doing?
What's going on, man? How you doing today?
Good, good, good. Go Sixers.
Yeah, they balling out, man. And got to give credit where credit is due. He was the MVP a few years ago, but right now he's definitely the MVP because he's commanding the ship. So got to give him credit.
Sure enough, it's sure enough. It's how's everything going?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I'm kind of sore, and I'm still a little cold because that rain that we had, that was crazy. The drive home was crazy. I'm glad everybody got home safe. But yeah,
Yeah, I told Ivan after the game, the Falcons and the Patriots for some reason cannot have a normal football game.
never.
It always has to be something out of the ordinary, thrilling, or what have you. So you
Yeah.
guys definitely have our number, being 3 for frickin' 3. Jesus Christ. Whoever it is made that shoestring tackle on George Dawson, because I was pretty sure we were going to be able to hit a 2 point conversion to win the game. Golly.
Yeah, that was a game changer, man. But not just
God bless that kid. Oh, he didn't give up. Like, and it's funny because you talk about the the game itself and semi pro football being guys that are washed up or talent wise or whatever. Say what you want. That was a effort play. Like, God bless that kid.
yeah,
Don't even know. Like, I didn't even want to see it again. I just saw him come out of nowhere. And just you see the hand and you're like, no way.
yeah, I don't even know who it was. I got to go back and look at it and see who that was. It was so many MVP moments for us. Like it was so many back and forth shifts from like, okay, the game is in their control. Okay, no, the game is in their control now. Okay, the game is in their control. Okay, the game is in their control now. It was crazy.
Yeah, and that's what it's about. I mean, like guys talk their stuff. I know it's funny. We just saw a picture of one of our players throwing up middle fingers or what have you,
Yeah,
and of course everybody's gonna make a big deal of it or what have you. Um, it's not a good look. Let me just say that it's definitely not a good look. But
ah,
but but everybody like the both teams have respect for each other. I wish we kept the film running after the game to see guys, hanging out
yeah.
and being, friendly or what have you. There's no animosity or anything, like that. It's not crazy. It's guys that want to compete, which is it's it's refreshing.
I mean, it's a real true rivalry in the sense that, like,
It's not a rivalry until we win a game. Damn that. Oh
I mean,
my god.
you talk about proximity. You talk about two incredible organizations, very well run. You talk about talent levels. Like, I don't care if y'all haven't won yet; it's still a rivalry. And in total, what is the point difference? Like 6 or 7 points in total.
Uh,
Like it's not a lot of points between winning and losing. So to me, it's always a rivalry, and hopefully we get to do it again. We already started talking. I talk about who we gonna see, but we'll get to that. I was trying to wait for Mason, but I don't want to wait too much longer. So I guess I got you here. I'll
Copy.
start with you, and then if he can jump in, he jumps in. Right.
Sounds good to me.
All right. So it's gonna get spicy, man. But welcome to the Black Room. You know what
How's
I'm
it
saying?
gonna get spicy? This is crazy. Okay, but
Welcome to
okay.
the Black Room. So look, the whole series is just supposed to be like real conversations and really talking about football and really talking about what's going on. So, welcome. Let's get right into it. The first conversation, spicy. Everybody's saying it. The IFA is done. They're saying the IFA will not be coming back. So my question to you is the IFA going to close its doors after the 2023 season?
That is awesome. It's funny that the people that say the IFA is over, they're absolutely wrong, because I don't think myself or Mason Morgan know if the IFA is over. I do know that my path in minor league football, which is now on to 18 years, has always been about what the demand is. So right now, there's a demand for the New York Patriots to have a football team. I've said this literally. My first team I owned. Just to give you a little background. My first football team I owned back in 2008. So I was 27 years old at the time. So I was owning football teams since 27 years old. And I've always said I never had an overwhelming desire to own a football team or a football league for that matter. As long as there is a use for it, as long as guys appreciate it, I'll do it. And for 18 years, I have run at least one. For a few of those years, many of those years, probably even too many of those years, I've run two teams during the course of a year. Now, as you can see, based on what's going on, not just in New England, but all over the place, there are dudes that struggle to run one team
Yeah.
for more than a season or two. So when people say, Patterson's arrogant, he's an asshole, yes, I am, because I spend a lot of money on football. I don't mind doing it because it's my way of donating to the community. It's my way of doing, like, community service, so to speak. I do it through football because guys aren't going to listen if you're just doing, cleanups at the neighborhood park and things like that. They want to play football, and I respect that. So as long as there is a need, there will be a Patriots. As long as there's a need, there will be a IFA. We've established, and I want to get Mason on because these are some of the things that we disagree on. One of the things that led us down the detour that we have gone on has been Mason wanting the best football teams in. Yeah, I want the best football teams in. And he wanted a lot of teams. We were talking about 14, 15 teams at one point. And I'm like, that's never been what we've been about. Because if you understand how the IFA works and how the IFA has worked from day one, it has literally been about owners that can work together. And there was really no need for a commissioner. That's why we never really put much thought into the commissioner spot. Because ultimately, again, Ivan, myself, Taiwan.
Yep.
Does the commissioner have to do anything when it comes to a Falcons and Patriots game?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Or
Does the commissioner have to do anything when it comes to a Patriots and Crusaders game or Crusaders? Nothing. So I get that people want to be spicy and they want the dramatics or what have you. But ultimately, the vision that I had for the IFA, and again, I'm only 50% of it, was a whole entire league where it's that dynamic, where the commissioner doesn't even come into play.
So,
and we ran a detour of that. We should have seen it coming last year when guys didn't want to honor the schedule. Guys didn't want to travel. Guys wanted to look out for their own particular team more than they want to look out for the league. I'm on a call. And that's not just an IFA thing, by the way. That happens all over. You really still play
it. So that leads me to the next question. The next question was, some people want to know what's the truth, like what's the real nitty gritty. Why did 60% of the league just take off overnight? What really happened?
So I don't think I even answered your first question because I'm long-winded and I talk like that. So the answer is I don't know if the IFA is going to be around next year. If there's a need, it'll be there. So like nobody knows if the IFA is going to be around next year. If the Patriots will be down to play ball one way or another, we have a bunch of options. Our best option has always been the IFA because ultimately it was about that component of having owners with minds. And it wasn't a headache to play games. People talk about the TFL and the Den and this and that. All of them have the same issue with some of their owners not doing the right thing. So ultimately, if the IFA can get a collection of teams that makes sense for us with owners that are on the same level as myself, as Ivan, and as Taiwan, then we'll do it. But ultimately, can you say that about a lot of programs? Probably not. The second question, what was the cause of it? Well, I'm on the phone. I know it's adorable, but I'm on the phone. Yeah, you're just going to steamroll through. I apologize. Sorry. I can't do this now. Love you too. Sorry. What caused 60% of the league to leave? It was a landslide. So here's the thing. The TFL had this last year. And when the TFL started to landslide, when teams started to move and leave and what have you, I stepped in and said, no, we're not doing this, and stabilized things to help out the TFL because Al and Sean Kelman are my guys. And it was wrong the way that dudes were moving. the league that they were moving to from us in terms of our turn this year. Now teams are sliding. Their destination welcomed them with open arms and allowed them to do whatever they wanted to do without rules or consequences or what have you. So ultimately, there was nothing that was in play to stop it from occurring. Each individual team, they had their individual motivations. Some of them wanted an easier schedule. Some of them did not want to travel. Some of them just wanted to be down with the crew and made the move. Some of them are going to be isolated because if you are past a certain point north, you have to play in that other league because it's the only game in town. So if they were ostracized from the group, they would have to travel 150 miles in order to get a game. So ultimately, you have to.
That makes sense. So I think everybody kind of knows at this point what was the trigger event ground zero. And the question is, where the heck was the referees and me?
Great question. And the funny thing is it the triggering event or was it the red herring of the operation? So it was found out later on that teams were discussing leaving way before that event. So I think it's very disingenuous to believe that referees for one particular game caused all that type of damage. They were plotting to begin with. Mason made a mistake, and again, Mason will get on, and you could absolutely grill him on his mistake. They gave them an opportunity to pull the trigger and kind of like shoot the flare off to get people to be like, "Oh yeah, the IFA is trash." Blah 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 blah. But ultimately, you've seen what has happened since then. Since then, there's been a lot of trash football going on. There's been a lot of rules that have been completely ignored, and the response all over is it's just spring football. It's just spring football. Nobody cares. Nobody cares as this defense mechanism. Now, let me ask you this: if it's no big deal and it's the spring and nobody cares about the spring, then why were referees that big of a deal?
You wouldn't care if it was a big deal.
If you're not even in the same uniform, if you're basically a raggedy ass looking operation. One, I don't know why all the people were bragging about all the camera. And by the way, the media. Let me just say, media absolutely love it. We had pick six out to our game, as you saw the pictures. Nia did an awesome job as usual.
Awesome job, Nia. Awesome.
Yeah, Eric Tez from Tez TV had video of the game. Absolutely awesome job as usual. So I love doing film. I love doing photos, and we do it of every single New York Patriots game. You can absolutely look at any football game from New York Patriots history on film. We film every single game. Now, let me ask you this though: if you look like shit, why on earth would you want to film that? Why are you spending pictures when your helmets aren't the same color, your jerseys aren't the same color, your ragged looking operation? You put, I mean, I don't get it. Well, actually, I do get it. It was just an excuse to move over to the other person's operation, and that person has a long reputation for doing underhanded Karen type things in order to get his way. And people over there will tell you that that's the case, but what other option do they have at this particular point?
True.
Yeah.
So,
But
I mean,
what do you need? What do you need rest for? And by the way, the other thing, sorry to interrupt,
no, go ahead.
people that say, "Oh, when it's the Patriots, everything's taken care of, and this never happens to the Patriots." True story. Patriots had a game where referees did not show up. We've had that happen. We rolled with it. We did it. We didn't go on message boards and blame the league or blame this or whatever. So it does happen to us. The championship game, this is the other absolutely awesome thing that guys love to mention. The championship game debacle and this and that, and the chains were laid, this and that. Where was Patterson? Where was Mason? Got it. So Patterson had my son, who is now 10 years old, had his little league championship game scheduled for the exact same day. Was trying to do both, getting on the road, heading up there to the game or what have you. Ended up getting caught up because unlike his old man, Anthony got the job done and won the baseball championship his first year ever in Little League Baseball. Now here's the thing. All these players who will sit there and chime in, and you play softball. Sorry about that. So all of these guys that will sit there and go, well, I'm missing games usually because their team is losing, so then they don't show up to games, or I'm missing practice because I have family obligations, blah blah blah. But if David Patterson has family obligations. No way, like it's not an excuse. No way, no how. We're going to hold him to task or what have you, which is hilarious to me. So that's the reason why I was not there. Now, would I have been there if the Patriots was in it? Would I have gotten on the road to get there midway through the first quarter or second quarter? Probably. Again, you saw me on Sunday. Did you see me on the football field?
Nope.
No. Do you see me? No. You see me driving around a golf cart, hanging out, having fun, doing what I do. That's the point where I'm at. So these guys that'll sit there and chat and be like, "Well, when it's the Patriots, this doesn't happen." It's not true. And here's the other part of it. Now, and you're probably learning this now. Of course, I must have had the down markers and sticks. I must have chosen the site, even though I live in New York, and I do go to Boston fairly often, but not enough to know which field is which field or whatever. But in the beginning of the year, in the IFA, we have a very straightforward conversation with owners. And this is what players miss. If you ever see Mason Morgan in a league meeting, it is absolutely hilarious because he just says basically, hey, look, we're not charging much of anything. We're charging like $150 for league fee. And that basically pays for trophies and like admin stuff. And the assigner's fee. The other $450 or whatever it is, I don't even know exactly what it is because he just tells me what it is. I pay for it. Not a big deal for me. Is your insurance. Now, again, you don't control your insurance, but literally, and this is why guys are idiots. Oh, stealing of money and money in this and money in that. All owners were sold. We're going to keep the money small so that you can travel, you can pay for buses, you can pay for better venues and stadiums and things like that. Like we've had discussions in the past about, we don't want to take your money. Take your money and invest in your program. I don't want to take $700, $800, $900 from teams in order to reward the champion for being the champion. That's, to me, not what football is about in general on this level in terms of amateur status. I've never been a proponent of the winner gets a purse or whatever, even though I've won championships where there's been a purse given out. To me, it's just not the way to do it. I know people differ in opinion, but it is what it is. So in those meetings, they'll say, it's $150. Look, we're going to give you a schedule, play your fucking games. That's all you got to do. I'm going to try to match up as best as possible, but this is what it is. I've been in a bunch of semi-pro leagues. I was in 2 leagues last year with the Patriots in the spring, with the TV league and the IFA. Teams don't dictate their schedules. They're given a schedule. Now, if they're given another option, somebody comes along and says, hey, I won't charge you any fee, come over here and hang with me, then it causes an absolute clusterfuck. It causes a mess. But nonetheless, all of the owners will sit there and say, yeah, I don't want to pay a big league fee. This is the time of year where they haven't collected dues from players or whatever and don't have that much in terms of cash flow. Yeah. Keep the money low. Got it. So we're also going to keep the money low so that the league is not paying for the championship site. We're going to have a host team pay for the championship site. They can get their money back through ticket sales, concessions, whatever it is that you make money at your venue doing. And you saw Black's Barbecue Box. Big shout out to Black's Barbecue, my man, doing things. If you were at the game, up at the press box, we had a great time, great food. Anyway, so we give teams an opportunity to make money by hosting the championship game. We just say, make sure that you have everything. Make sure that it's basically your show. And I go to the Super Bowl every year. The host city is the host city, the committee or whatever. The NFL runs a little bit of it, but it's really the host city that operates the venue. And we run under a similar model. So that particular year, the Chargers were the host team. They are the ones that chose the venue. They are the ones that were responsible for bringing all the field equipment and bringing everything to the venue. That was their responsibility as the host team. Again, not saying that to throw them under the bus, but again, this year it's the Falcons that are hosting. And when whoever it is goes to the Falcons are responsible for the chains, the down markers. The Falcons are responsible for the pylons and the pads. The Falcons are responsible to make sure that the scoreboard is with the scoreboard. And to tell you the truth, we've had championship games in the past that the Patriots have been a part of where there was no scoreboard. In fact, the championship that we won in 2019, I can't even remember whether there was a scoreboard operating or not. Not really a priority for me. Again, so when guys say, oh, if it was your team, blah, 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 shut up. You're a moron. No, it's just not the case. Never has been the case. No. Because again, if I'm getting off a bus, I'm spending $3 grand on a bus. I care if the scoreboard's lit up. I could care less. So, Falcons responsibility. So if anything messes up, it's going to be Mason's fault and my fault, or is it going to be the Falcons' fault?
If that's the agreement, it's got to be the Falcons' fault.
Right. So that's always the agreement. Every single year, this is the agreement. The year before that, it was the Bearcats. The year before that, it was the Huskies or what have you. So it's been like this every single year. But of course, when something goes wrong, it's Mason's fault, Patterson's fault, blah, 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 blah. But again, that's one of the teams that went. So the team that dudes were beefing about the championship experience, the team that was responsible for hosting that event went with them.
They did, and they was there the whole time. He was on both sidelines. I was standing right next to him at one point.
So again, you could disagree with the model, and that's why when people were upset, I get that. I mean, I get that they were upset, but ultimately, if it's my team, I explained to my team, we paid $150 in league fee. What do you expect? We're not playing at MetLife Stadium for $150 in league fee. That's just not what this is about.
Right.
We're playing for the love of the game, for the brotherhood of the game, or what have you. And we've gotten into some discussions. Funny enough, I've gotten in discussions with Falcons family members of yours that will sit there and go, "Why is this like this? Why is this like that?" And I'm like, "Well, their stadium or the field that they play at, is it crap? Well, yeah, it's crap, but we don't have a standard for that." And I'm defending people. Meanwhile, I play in the best stadium in the league. I spend 3, 4, 5 times as much as what other people spend on their teams. So I understand that for the IFA to be 12 to 15 teams, that I have to sit there and be patient with the dude that's doing for $6 grand what I'm doing for 25, 30 grand. And those same guys will sit there and chirp and chirp and chirp. And that's why I spoke up and said something, because some of these dudes were chirping and didn't have $100 to give to own a team. $100. When I heard that they were, and you could ask Mason this question, you doing ownership stakes for $100, $200 a person? What? This is what you were doing? Because we just needed people to operate teams, but that's not ownership. Some of these guys can't pay their own bills in their own house, but they're going to tell me how to run my organization. That is retarded to me. I mean, and I'm not saying retarded to be like slanderous. I mean, like, the synapses in your brain ain't hitting right. There's got to be something chromosomally wrong with you if you honestly think that I'm going to sit here and take $25,000 recreational money. And again, that's why it was so funny to me when we were talking about the field bill for $900 or whatever like that, and I made the comment, that's like 2 dinners for me, like night out for dinner. Like, that's not a big deal for me. Like, again, people know about like what I collect. You see it, like, $900. I spin the block at a golf cart just because I think it's cool. So $900 was not going to be consequential to me one way or another. So for people thinking that the IFA folded over $900, there is something chromosomally wrong with you. That's the only thing. That's the only thing I can think of. Like, am I missing something?
Nah, you're not. So here's my next question, because a lot of people like to come at the IFA for a lot of different things, right? And one of the main topics that's been going on, especially after I put out like the big Northeast rankings and put everybody on the same plate, you know what I'm saying, is there's no credibility in the IFA because the schedule is not strong enough. So why not bring in some of those bigger name teams to add in? Why not add a couple extra teams here and there? Some of the big time guys. You know, we talking like the Knowles when they was looking for a spot. You know what I'm saying? We talking about like how the Den kind of swooped in and picked up all these teams that were looking for different places to go. Like,
see, that's why guys, what really goes on versus what you guys hear are two very, very different things. Very different things. So the Den was a move for a lot of teams because it had to be the move, not because they wanted to be the move. He did a great job of being opportunistic, but there's a lot of people that were moving away from other situations that were moving over there. Again, keep in mind, let's talk about competition for a second. And again, I don't, throughout the history of the IFA, we have been spring football developmental up and down the Eastern Seaboard. What we should have done, which is what I disagree with Mason Morgan on, is that I thought we should have taken solid organizations, made them popular, and make good players go to those teams. And that way you still control the ownership. I still to this day say the only successful semi-pro product will be a league where the league owns all the teams. And that's what always worked for us. So here's the funny thing. As the Norsemen week in and week out get their face kicked in, you know the main machine for years. We when I say we, me and Mason Morgan have used the rules of the league to save the main machine multiple times. In fact, the main machine, similar to the racist issue with the Vipers that was going on, which is crazy by the way, really funny that the whole entire idea for the IFA moving away from the ECFL was based on Jim Harmon not wanting to deal with a race issue with the main machine. Long story short, this was right during the George Floyd uh, context, and one of the players, white guy, wanted to put black power fists on the back of helmets of all the main machine. The main machine ownership was like, don't want anything political on my helmet. Dude tried to claim racism. Harmon sat there because he wants to ride the wave, even though I think my feelings on him and race relations are pretty clear. He was just like, oh, they're racist. We're going to throw them out. Not because he actually knows anything about racism, because dude can't spell cat if you spotted them, the C and the A. So he tossed them out. So when I sat there and actually unpacked it and saw what was going on, I said, no, this isn't racism. I don't deal with people that are racist. What we're going to do is we'll put the team back together. At that point, she had already given refunds out and the rest of it. I said, look, put your team back together. I think the way that you were disposed of was disgusting. And really, she was only disposed of because she was a female owner. And the person, and Harmon made disparaging comments about women and ownership and how she can't take directions and follow orders because she's a woman, which was disgusting. And that was the start of me saying, you know what, I can't do business with this guy. So that's when I started to move away. So when I moved away, Harmon doing what Harmon does, Karen calls, calling places that I'm playing, saying that I don't have insurance when I do, like stuff like that. It's crazy because black businessmen and the whole ignorant things, and then sending me pictures of himself in a hot tub, just absolutely crazy, especially with the black man dingo thing. He didn't even get the concept that you sitting there doing, yeah, right. You sitting here doing the sexual innuendos at a black male, and what does that mean when it comes to the history of our people in this country when it comes to sexual exploitation and stuff like that? So again, when you talk about racism in this man, I don't shoot that shot, and people know me from my political jargon in other places. I don't pull the race card on people often at all. I'm not one of those guys, but I know it when I see it. And again, this is the way that he moves. So when we moved away from that situation, took the main machine, put them back on their feet, even put startup money, no problem, handled. When we started the Bearcats were the brand new flashy thing, whatever. The guys want to go away from the machine and go to the Bearcats. We put rules in place, 5-man rules, five-man movement to keep the machine in place, to stabilize the program. 3 or 4 other times we managed to even out the boat and leave the machine, and then eventually the Norsemen, standing. So, I spoke to their ownership and told them that them leaving was disgusting because we'd done everything above and beyond what any league would do to make sure that they had a thriving program, and they went to the same organization that had disposed of them just 5 years ago. Funny how that happened, but I think that's filthy to do, and I told them that it was absolutely filthy the way that they handled it, but it is what it is. I don't do business that way.
Yeah.
And by the
Honestly,
way, the whole reason why the IFA started, which is the independent part, I'm not sure if people know this, but the reason why the I is independent is because the New York Patriots got tired of football politics in New York and said, you know what, we're going to hit the road. So we played in all types of places: Pittsburgh, Canada, up and down the East Coast, bunch of places. We loved playing against Mason's team up north. Love playing the Huskies, love playing the guys in Maine and what have you. And we built those relationships, and that's what ended up being the league. We didn't start out like, oh, we're going to start a league. And there's plenty of people that have tried to start their own league that have, failed because they sit there like, oh, this is what we want to do. It was no, it was a, hey, I'm going to travel 6 hours to play you guys. Um, let's just play. And then once we were playing and having a good time and such, we said, well, why don't we make a playoff and a championship? And that's the way it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be everybody trying to politic and maneuver and try to beat up on cupcakes and embarrass people and put up 50 points on people. Like the name that keeps coming up is Amos. I've played Amos's team before, and when you go up to play Amos, Amos isn't able to get on his feet because whenever somebody tries to play Amos, they try to put 100 points on him, and nobody can survive off of that. If you actually do it in a way that makes sense, he could be a valuable team.
So the last question that we got for this topic. We know that a lot of the teams that kind of started the original IFA, and it wasn't a ton of teams, but they came from the ECFL. We talked about the main machine. Do you feel like the ECFL intentionally did what they did to sabotage the IFA and pull those teams out directly, and then also try to squash the image and tarnish the image of IFA after getting half the teams into their new league for the spring?
He's been doing it for years. It's always been about sabotaging. In fact, when you look, and I had this conversation today, when you look at the landing spot, because ultimately, and I know I have the arrogance where people are like, yo, Patterson never says they made a mistake. Patterson never admits fault or what have you. So when I'm looking at Mason and I'm looking at what's going on, I say, Mason, let's look at each team and let's figure out whether they are better off now than they would have had they played out the schedule. Now, my particular team literally played the same exact schedule had the IFAs remained 10 teams or not. One exception, which is Syracuse, who refused to travel, which was laughable because they brought up something about a weapon the week before. It was investigated by the TFL, was investigated by the IFA. It was literally everything. Everybody has been spoken to. I have an official recording from the officials of that game, and basically what the guy from the Smash said wasn't collaborated. I'm not going to say that he lied. I'm not going to call anybody a liar. But when I asked him repeatedly, and he had no answer, and since has done whatever he did, I said, look, if you honestly think that somebody made a gun threat, got it. I spoke to people. Keep in mind, I was there, mind you, for the first half. I was there. I know who was there. I spoke to people that had no ties to either program. They didn't hear anybody say anything about a gun. The officials, who oftentimes will hear extra things or make a bigger deal than what is necessary, none of them mentioned anybody making a gun threat. The only people that are saying that a gun threat was made is your team. Now, I'm not going to sit there and call you a liar, but what would you like me to do other than call everybody else a liar?
And just to be clear, we're talking about April 1st, right? The Syracuse Smash against the Dolphins. Okay.
Correct. So he got frustrated with me because I'm sitting here like, what do you want? What else do you want me to do? I literally have spoken to damn near everybody who's at the game. Your side is the only side saying that that there was a gun threat, and meanwhile, everybody, including your side, is saying that your players started the whole thing. So if you're avoiding consequences, even if there was a gun threat, your guy still started the thing and he has to have consequences. Now, I can additionally penalize the other team. I could speak to the TFL. I mean, they handle their team or what have you, but I definitely could make recommendations on their end or what have you. But where else would you like me to go with this? And then, by the way, in the midst of you complaining about this, you made a post asking the Ducks, who are from the same neighborhood as the people that you allege made a gun threat, and you're trying to recruit their players to play with you against me. Now, if you couldn't control your own player that you brought from 5 hours away, what chance in hell do you have of controlling a player that you picked up from the same neighborhood that you are all so afraid to be in?
I can't see it. I can't see it.
Can you make that make sense for me?
I can't see it. But listen, we got to move on for the sake of time. So I'm gonna bring this up. So next segment is called the Think Tank, right? And right now, we just want to talk about, what can we do to fix the ecosystem that we currently have in semi-pro football. And you kind of was talking about it already a little bit, but you have mentioned something. So I was originally going to ask you, like, what are three things you could think of realistically today that, as a whole, we could kind of focus on that would improve semi-pro football? But I kind of want to peel back to something that you said. You had said that you feel like the only time that it would really work is if the leagues own the teams. And I had mentioned something like this before, and it was a lot of like pushback on it. But I can't see at this level it really being successful and sustainable on a big scale any other way.
Right. I mean, Connecticut had a spring product that they were going to come out with that was supposed to have a league that owned the teams. They fell off the face of the earth. Nobody really said anything or even followed up or whatever. There's been a whole bunch of announcements. Right. And that's part of the issue, by the way, is that everybody and their mama can just announce. Like I could sit there and announce the New York Flamingos coming out and put some cool uniforms up, and the same like 30 guys that go to every single team will sit there with the big googly eyes and go, word, word, can't wait, can't wait, can't wait, and then no team. Like it's frustrating. It really is. Because ultimately, if I'm putting my team on the field, and keep in mind, I will say that I played the hardest schedule in semi-pro football last year. Period. I played the Seminoles twice. I played the Jersey Sharks. I played the Sussex Stags. I played the Falcons. I played the East Coast Cardinals
Yep.
at the Cardinals.
Yep.
And there was a few others. I
Played
played a tough
the Falcons
schedule.
twice.
Right. I played a tough schedule. So when it comes to comp, anybody that says the Patriots duck comp or single A, double A, whatever like that, you are having a chromosomal issue again, as I said. But to get to your point, the reason why I say that the league has to own all of the teams is because ultimately what causes rules to be broken and chaos to ensue is owners pursue in either hedging their bet, trying to win the purse to even out their money, or trying not to lose as much money as possible and try to be down with players. That's ultimately what it's all about. So guys that are chasing money end up putting far less into their program than I do with mine. So if there was a minimum standard, right? And that minimum standard, as I told you, was 25,000. I shouldn't be getting on a field with somebody that has a $6,000 outfit. I shouldn't. Um, and leagues don't treat those differently. They're one and the same. They're all league members or whatever. So a $6,000 operation is going to come to your field and act like a $6,000 operation. That's what it's going to be. And I can only do but so much to sell my guys on. We're a $25,000 operation. Follow directions. Get to kickoff 2 hours beforehand. Do X, Y, and Z. Respect the game. Respect the organization. Do this interview. Go to this fundraising event. Do this community service activity when the team that we're playing comes in with different color helmets, or doesn't have their uniforms, or does some raggedy stuff that $6,000 operations do. So that ultimately, like, what do they have to lose? And that's why I said again, I'm always open to suggestions, regardless of what walk of life you came from. What really is one of my triggers, and will get me on social media in a second, which is what I'm trying to avoid doing. I'm trying to grow. I really am. But when I see somebody who doesn't have two pennies to rub together, who is constantly on their own page complaining about life issues, that can't get their own life together, and they are arrogant talking about my $25,000 hobby, I think that is just, I think it's stupid. There's no other, like, I can't be respectful. There's no way to respectfully address that. Like, it's not like you can't even handle feeding and clothing yourself, and you're on Facebook every day blowing up about your own personal issues. You can't even get your own relationships right, but you're going to tell me how to run my $25,000 hobby. I don't get that. I don't.
That's a tough one. I don't know, but so outside of that, is there any two other things that you could probably think of that would really help improve the situation? And when you was just talking just now, I'm thinking I had came out with the idea of the different levels actually meaning something. What if the different levels, like you said, are for organizations? Single A is for the guys that have a $10,000 budget or less, and double A is for 20,000 or less, and triple A is for
I
21
think there should
plus.
be an age limit, like single A football. And by the way, I've played single A football before in terms of my teams because I've had 17-year-olds and 18-year-olds. If you are 25, 30, 35 years old, you should not be playing single A football. You're just not a good football player. That's the long and short of it. You should compete, and I tell this to officials too, because the officials are talking about, oh, teams are fighting and this and then they're trying to up the price on reffing games, and I tell them, no, this is your fault. If a team gets beat by 100, you should let that rock. Stop trying to referee games to keep scores down and keep games from getting out of hand. Guys have to learn that this shit is not for everybody. So if you have a young team, 17 to 25, and that's why with the Pioneer League, the Bronx Colts, the Brooklyn Pharaohs, who you know now is nationally recognized, Brooklyn Bobcats. We had a team in Staten Island. We had, 6 to 8 teams at one point coming through the ranks. The Green Wave was a Pioneer team, and they're really good organization and a really good football team. Um, the reason why we cap the age is because ultimately, if you are under a certain age or whatever, you should be playing in a certain bracket. So like with the Bronx Colts when we played NEFL 2 back in I think it was 2011, we took the Bronx Colts, traveled up, played the NEFL 2 schedule. After that, the Patriots when we were doing independent, which is where the IFA, the independent came from, which was the Patriots playing an independent schedule. We were an independent team. Harmon saw that we were playing teams that happened to be in the ECFL, put us on his website. Sound familiar? And I said, why are you putting my brand on your website? You don't have permission to do that. Like, who do you think you are? Oh, no. We just have to, for record this and that. I'm like, yeah, nah, like you disrespecting the ownership thing. And oh no, I'm a player's this and he's calling my players and stuff like that. And I'm like, no, we don't operate like that. We go through chain of command. You don't call players and tell them, oh, tell Patterson to do X, Y, and Z. The fuck you think you are? Like, we don't do that. And again, that's where again we get that departure. But ultimately, single A should be if you have a certain average age.
Okay.
We've played with 24, 25-year-olds if we're traveling 4 or 5 hours. So like the IFA wasn't a travel league like we had that conversation last year. It wasn't a travel league. It was a New England league with a New York team that did all the traveling. And I had no problem playing lesser competition than my roster really dictated because I was giving up 4 hours and 5 hours of travel. As you know, when you look at those big travel games, especially ECFL a few years ago had some big distance and people were doing home and homes. And teams that were 2, 3 hours apart that did home and homes, it was like a 20, 25 point swing just based on the advantage of that travel.
Yeah.
So if you're giving up travel, then drop down a class. But it should not be I'm just not going to be good. So I'm going to win my way into having a team. If you build a team that's pure and simply just built on winning, they usually do not survive very long. The Bronx Colts, again, my own team, I've learned from not mistakes, but just happenstance. The Colts, as soon as they started, champion. They ran off 5 championships in a row. And when they went into the MLF to step up in level, it was we're not gonna sit there and run and yeah, we didn't run the table, but we're not gonna sit there and be a championship contender every single year. Well, that was hard for a lot of guys to take. So, the Brooklyn Seminoles are over there and they look pretty good. I'm gonna go over there. Or the Rebels, they look good. I'm gonna go over there. And that's when the whole departing to go here and there thing started because the young guys were like, I don't want to wait my turn. Let me join this and let me get some jewelry.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, but double A, again, double A, triple A should be like triple A, higher economics. Again, those operations that are in real deal stadiums, real deal operations. The elephant in the room is always going to be who's paying their players or who's compensating players or who doesn't charge a fee because that's happening with the name, image, and likeness deals, it may be a little bit different when it comes to um, college eligibility, but I'm not even comfortable with it enough to sit there and go, well, we have a pro program, so it doesn't matter because you could play pro football and then go to college. It's not there yet. So, me being in a league where Chambersburg Cardinals did this in the MLF a few years ago, where they were paying players outright, and it's going to mess with people's eligibility if you're known as a league that pays players. The NEFL is registered with the NCAA. You call the NCAA and say, I'm with the NEFL. They go, oh, okay, gotcha, no problem. And the conversation fucking ends. If you're with any other league, it's a, oh, can you send me the website? Can you give me more information? Blah, blah, blah. Or else you could really mess with somebody's eligibility.
Right. So what's one thing that just comes off the top of your head that you think could just make the situation that we have right now in semi-pro better? Like you talked about refs not wanting to ref or raising the prices. We got guys fighting, gun talk, and we know how bad that can get. We got teams not being very good organizations. Let's just put it that way. What's one thing that comes to the top of your mind that we haven't talked about?
I'm gonna put it on the players, and here's the reason why. And I'll ask this question again. When was the last time you saw a big hit that was posted on Facebook and somebody, a player, say, that guy has to go to work on Monday? We don't do that to each other. Especially a hit that's not even near the ball. Especially a hit that has nothing to do with the football. I was at the Rutgers coaching clinic the other week, and Greg Schiano, he has this huge thing about the ball. It's all about the ball. Violence when it comes to the football. But once you're in possession of the ball, it's all about the ball. So when you see some of these clips and what players think are highlights, you're sitting there like, well, the game itself, especially for guys that are doing 2 games a weekend, 3 games a weekend, it's crazy to me. They're going through these collisions. Why go through unnecessary collisions that have nothing to do with the football? And
That way.
right. And where are the players with the outrage? So you can't have it both ways. You can't sit there and say, I want to play at SUNY Maritime, I want to play at big time stadiums, and then you don't want to act the part. I had a player, great player, by the way, who I'm not gonna give his name out. Those that I'm talking about know who I'm talking about. Said, "Yo, Pat, I want to talk my shit. I want to talk my shit." I said, "Stop." He goes, "Well, they do it. They do it in the NFL. They do it in college." I said, "Stop. They don't." He goes, "No, Pat, you understand?" I said, "Dude, when was the last NFL game you've been to?" He goes, "Well, I've never been to an NFL game, but I mean, I seen it on TV." I said, "Okay, I've been on an NFL sideline. I know what they say. I know what they do. I literally, if you look at my Facebook, you'll see I'm well connected with the NFL. My brother-in-law does Super Bowl tickets every year. I'm at the Super Bowl every year. I'm around these guys often. I was at my niece's birthday party. Dude from the Giants. I gave a dirty look too because he's a Giant player. I forgot his name. But anyway, my point is, like, I ask the questions. I don't. The reason why I'm so confident in my answers and the reason why I'm so confident in arguing is because I research it and I like if I don't see it with my own eyes or ask questions and break it down to the lowest denominator, I don't say it and I don't speak it. These guys just say anything that comes into their brain, and then when they're found to be wrong, then they want to get to their next point. And it's like it doesn't work like that. So I say, no, the college. I say, no, I'm on college sidelines all often. They don't talk like that. They don't do that. Well, no, I seen it on TV. Stop. So when you guys make a decision whether you want to be the NFL, at least in terms of the fantasy part of it or whatever, or you want to be who you are right now, but you can't be both. So you got to pick a struggle. So either you want to be a thug, you want to be a hood dude, or you want to pretend like you're in the NFL or pretend that you're in a Division I football program. But you can't have both at the same time. It makes very little sense. Very little sense.
That leads me to the next question. Was the last one for the think tank from a league owner or commissioner viewpoint. And you have the experience to have that viewpoint. What would it really honestly take? And it doesn't even have to be in New England, doesn't even have to be in New York, just in general. for a semi-pro level, minor league level? What would it take for an NFL type of league to exist? We're talking 20 or more teams. All teams are eligible to play each other no matter where they are. Conferences, divisions, big playoff system, big venue for the championship game. What would that take?
Well, GDFL is the closest to getting it done. The issue with the GDFL is essentially you have to create your own regular season. It's basically like a Build-A-Bear workshop for semi-pro football. Once you build your own, 4 or 5 teams or 6 teams in your division, which essentially you have to recruit yourself if you are in a geographic location that's away from where their footprint is. Once you build that, you play each other twice. You play like a crossover game or two, and then you enter into the national framework where you can travel. And they even give you some money to handle the expenses of travel or what have you. That's the closest to being able to get it done. But again, when you have the first thing that you need is multiple points of recognition. So, for example, it'd be more like the college system, I would say, than the NFL system, where if you're NFC East champs, like if the Eagles win the NFC East, right, and they don't win the Super Bowl, well, at least we got a banner. If we win the conference, but we didn't win the Super Bowl, at least we got a banner. So, like, I'm not sure how many teams like that won their division, but also, actually, didn't I think the Cowgirls win the NFC East last year? Who were the NFC East?
I think they did win. I can't remember. I
Right.
think
So
the Cowboys did win. Yeah.
right. So when you look at the of who goes home with something at the end of the season, and that's really the biggest crux of semi-pro football, or really football other than getting paid to play, is who goes home at the end of the season feeling good about themselves. Who can win their last game of the season that matters to them?
Who's one
Now,
of the
in college, they have a whole bowl system that's designed for self-esteem. Like, oh, we won the poinsettia bowl, or oh, we won. What's the one that the Jets are a terrible football team. They're a quarterback that they got from BYU. What's this fool's name?
I don't know his name.
Everybody forgot about the BYU quarterback. Oh my God, what is his name? Anyway, their freaking second coming quarterback that they drafted last
Zach
year,
Wilson.
Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson.
So Zach Wilson came from BYU, and Jets fans thought that he was the second coming. The biggest game that he had ever played in was the paint.com Boca Raton Bowl. That was the biggest game he ever played in, the Boca Raton Bowl. But you can't tell the man he wasn't a champion when he went down and won the Boca Raton Bowl. So as silly as it sounds, though, there is some point to it, which is you have 100 and whatever Division I teams. You can't have 100 and whatever all fail and one succeed. So like Dallas won the NFC East, but the Eagles won the conference. So you end up with there's 8 divisions and then conference titles. So let's say 9 different teams out of the 32 teams in the NFL have a banner that they can sell to their fans. Like, hey, we were successful in one way, shape, or form. What is it that you get in any of these leagues if you're not the champ? And that's why ECFL has that tiered system. It's not based on anything measurable. It's based on guys that want to sit there and go, well, I'll be a playoff team if I drop to this. Ooh, well, I'll look better if I drop to this. If I move up, my record won't look so good. How can I sell that to players? How can I sit here and collect dues? Because if I'm under 500, shit, the militia, Connecticut militia, great program when it was out. Don't get me wrong. The militia was built to win because they had the finances and that was a lot of money that they were spending. So you better win. But when they joined the MLF, because remember they were an NEFL and they were even a double A team, right?
I think
They were spending quadruple A money, right? But they were a double A team because when you're shooting off cannons and you're doing, spots at the local mall and you're on television and radio and stuff like that, that shit don't work if you're a 500 team.
Yeah, I know. They're back and I'm on the team.
Right?
So, I know.
So that's a tough one. So if you're going to do that, and here's the thing. our energy needs to be, and this is where the psyche, the fragile psyche of a lot of semi-pro players, especially the ones that are on Facebook chattering all the time, that's where it destroys the game because their ego can't allow them to be on a 500 program.
True.
We
True.
can't shoot off cannons if we're a 500 team. Well, why? That's what the team does. That's what the town is. And that's what's different between minor league football and minor league baseball, besides the whole insurance thing. Baseball, if you ever get a chance, I go to AAA, AA, single A rookie league games. There's a team out in Rockland County, the Rockland Boulders. They do an awesome job. Dollar beers. They do all types of stuff with the kids and things like that. For the life of me, I can't tell you out of all the times I went there whether they've won or lost. I have had a freaking awesome time.
So you're having a good time.
The when I go to Richmond to see my mom, the Richmond Flying Squirrels. The team's called the Flying Squirrels. They're the AA affiliate for the Giants. Always have a great time. The festivities, the T-shirt toss, kids are out there, whatever, whatever. Can't tell you whether they won or lost. Now, can you imagine if they had, well, we're not a good team, so we can't shoot cannons off, or we can't do this, or we can't bring the mascot out because we're a shit. When ownership is tied to the football end of it too much and not to the business end, that's what you end up with. And the Patriots product, I believe, has gotten better because I'm not on the sideline anymore. My attention is on the business end of it. I want to win, and you know what? Watching that game from the press box, I'm like, oh my God. But ultimately, you need somebody focused on the business who is not attached to the football. All of these teams in semi-pro football, the guy that's in charge of the business is emotionally attached to the football, and those decisions end up, I have to update our website, and people, and I know to this day, like it won't be because I had a flood in my house and I was pumping out water. People will say the Patriots website and the IFA website weren't updated because Patterson lost. I know that's going to be the thing. Got it, understood, whatever. But I'm preaching to the choir, which is I need to update the website just as much when we lose as when we win because it's about the experience, it's about the professionalism, it's about the organization.
Right. Right. All right. We hit the time, but I think this last section is so important. So let's just try to get through it as quick as we can. The last section is reviving the pro league, talking about money, talking about a utopia, right? So, what is the best possible product that we could put out? And the first thing that comes to my mind is how can we bring semi pro football to the big screen? I'm talking about MSG, FSN, ESPN3, any of these smaller, sports focused, stations that we could just get a foot in the door.
It's mentality, and it has to be a consistent mentality. It can't be oh, we need to be professional, but these two guys have an issue, so they should fight it out on the street. No, that's not how society works. When the mentality is consistent and it's consistently dedicated to professional football, then we can become professional football. I tell my guys, I will pay guys to play. I have no problem doing that. People have to pay me to watch you play. At this point, who is going to pay me to watch you play football? If your image and what you portray, which is not gonna be and that's the NIL, by the way, as well, in terms of that concept. And I'm not sure if people understand this, especially semi-pro football players, is that if you are the freaking third string running back on a mid-major team, you're not getting NIL money. No. So if you are a third string tailback on a mid-major team, but you're funny as hell or engaging or charming, you actually might be able to find some NIL money because people are willing to pay you because you bring the attention that they want. So by doing the things that you do, what type of attention are you garnering, and are people willing to pay? If they are, I don't need to collect off of that. No. If 50 people will come into the door to watch you play football, no problem. What they pay me, I'll pay you.
So here's the question. There's a clear fork in the road right now where the USFL is all about the football. The XFL is all about the entertainment and changing the game and making it more relevant and making it a different product. Which direction do you think semi-pro football should go and trying to be what a lot of people are saying semi-pro can be the development league to the USFL or the XFL, but I don't think you can be the developmental league to both. I think you're gonna have to choose which one.
You are one of the exceptions to this. Semi-pro is not the development league to anything. Maybe low-level arena leagues, and that would literally be maybe one, maybe two players per team. That's about it. If you and I've had people in my house that have played in the NFL and have been working to get into NFL on contracts and stuff like that. Their regiment is something that 99% of semi-pro cannot deal with.
Yeah.
Their diet is something that 99% of you guys cannot deal with. Their ability to get up, pick up, and be in Florida for a workout on 13 hours notice is something that you will never be able to deal with. 99% of you will never be able to deal with at all. And again, going back to my original point, which is if you're on social media talking about the woes with your baby mama and how you're getting child support, uh, requests and shit like that, and you can't even deal with basic elements of life, you cannot handle the life of a professional football player.
Yeah, it's tough.
No way.
It's tough. It's tough. I would love to see that.
But to answer your question, the USFL is keeping overhead low. So I would say that, I mean, the entertainment part, the entertainment is still the football end. I do see the way that you're seeing it, but I think that they have learned from the mistakes of previous leagues, including the AFL, which is
Yeah,
they have these huge budgets, and even the World League, they have these huge budgets and these huge TV contracts and such, and they're essentially paying for that spot, and it's not paying off for them because the real feeder system for the NFL is college football, and it works very, very well. And even college football, if we could take a second to talk about that, college football, another pet peeve of mine is when guys get fed up with semi-pro teams and are like, you know what? I'm tired of this team. I'm not getting no burn. I'm just going to go play college ball. As though they literally could just get up the next morning and walk down to the public library, open the door, and say, all right, I'm signing up to play college football, and go to the stadium and get a helmet and shoulder pads. As somebody who has played Division I college football, now I was, full disclosure, I was 1AA, so that's FCS,
FCS.
right? Um, as somebody who played 1AA, it's insulting to hear semi-pro players think that playing college football is just this sign-up thing. Like, yeah, you don't have the grade, you don't even have a transcript. Some of you don't even have a high school diploma. Some of you don't even have a GED, but you're going to play high school football. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, so and so did it. I could name one person that did it. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, you have a better chance of getting mauled by a bear and a polar bear on the same day than playing Division I college football out of semi-pro. Again, it happens sometimes, but you don't hear the rest of the story. Like, for example, a guy who had played big time high school football. Meanwhile, you weren't disciplined enough to make your high school football team. Or if you played high school football, you played high school football on the lowest division in one of the worst sections of the country. Um, you don't have the discipline and self control to actually go to class, but you gonna play college football. It's not that. It's not a sign up and like the disco with books thing. Like,
You
stop
won't
it
make it through that first workout. You won't make it through the first test.
at all, at all.
You won't make
So
it through the
we
first
have,
test.
we have to come off that mentality. College football is a fraternity that is a small group of men who have gone past the people that are like, I could, should, woulda, couldas, and all that, and actually got it done.
Absolutely. So then, you know, one of the things that I've been really like huge on, I think we talked about it because you asked me a question. I talked about the Players Association and paying players. And I said, I think the real money And this level of football is not going to come from teams and generating ticket sales. That's never really going to happen to bring the big money. And I think it's going to be brand deals. So I was thinking from your perspective, what would it take for a league to have a brand deal? Let's say all of our jerseys are coming from Nike. And if you want to get cleats, we have a brand deal with Under Armour. You can buy at a discount, 40% off, 30% off, whatever it is. What about support from the NFL? What would it take to get the Shield to come down and have appearances and put on clinics and do seminars and, be at some of the games? What do you think
Uh,
it would take for
it,
all of that?
it would take you proving that you move their needle. If you don't move their needle for their business, they will not pay much attention. And by the way, this is somebody who got a $250,000 sponsorship from the New York Jets for my youth league because youth football pushes their product. Big shout out to Corinne McFarland for getting me that. He reminds me all the time that he was my
Shout out to
and,
you for that, man. That's
and
good
he
stuff.
absolutely deserves the recognition. But I always tell him I give him credit, and he tells me that I don't give him credit. Corinne McFarland, big shout out. Got a $250,000 sponsorship with the New York Jets because, again, youth football drives the needle. What does semi-pro do to push the needle? I mean, you guys, and here's the other thing: you might have to come off of the Nike logo. You might have to come off the check. You might have to come off the Under Armour. What about? And we started this thing out with that sponsorship, getting uniforms for our kids, but we went with FTL. FTL was actually connected with the guy from the Jets, and he gave them a shot. He didn't go through Nike. That moves the needle. So, what about the businesses that are making money off of our business? So, like, if we put, and I'm just using, just think about all the vendors that are at your semi-pro games. So, like at our game this weekend, it was Black's Barbecue. Well, you know what? If we support his brand and launch him into a national, brand that everybody knows, and he's, making money, then you know what? Black will cut a check. If knockout punch and stretches nutcrackers, I don't know what they're called, but if his drinks, which are awesome by the way, uh all of a sudden take off and he becomes legitimate, like, national brand, like the next Jack Daniels. Have you ever seen like the history of like Jack Daniels, for
Yep.
example? He got hit.
Georgia, I know the history of 'em.
Yeah, if you know the history of some of these guys, you're like, yo, Stretch absolutely could be the next Jack Daniels.
Yeah,
I
he's a
have a
moonshiner. He's a moonshiner and a bootlegger.
right. Ronald Winfield has his Roker apparel. So, like, again, Nike's all well and good, but if you go with Roker apparel and he becomes a national brand or a regional brand, will he donate? Absolutely. I have my company, Pioneer Sports. I do uniforms and apparel and championship rings and the whole rest of it. If my needle gets moved, well, I give. I give money now. If I was making money off of this thing, the more money I make, the more money I put into the thing. So we end up being, pardon the expression because I don't want to use the you know connection, but we're slaves to brands that show us no love. Some of you guys Gucci this and Fendi that, and if you looked at who Gucci is, you look who Fendi is or whatever, you just I think your
Just
priorities are
throw money away. All right, so last question, so we can get on out of here and get some time back in your life, so you can get back to your kids. Is
yeah. And the
technology?
Knicks are losing, by the way, so yes.
Oh man! All right, so technology at our level, and I'm talking tablets on the sideline, drones in the sky. There's a new camera system that I saw has AI technology. It tracks the ball, it tracks the players, it tracks the celebrations, um, and just creating a new standard. You know what I'm saying, for the sideline, right? Mist fans and water hoses, things like scoreboards being a regular thing, being on announcers, PA announcers. What's your idea? What's your outlook? First of all, what's your outlook on the future? Let's say the next 5 years of minor league. Do we start to see more technology come in? Because we're way behind the curve. Like, we're behind the high school level right now. There's high schools that have better technology than we have right
Yeah, but here's the thing: high schools are funded properly. If you're funded properly, you could do those things. Now, let me ask you this. Out of all those people that we mentioned that are at games, right? Who is making money? Well, the concession stand is making money. The photographers are making money. And by the way, we've had some photographers, I've been doing this 18 years, some photographers that started with us have made a good amount of change, right? And are doing, and have bought like the extensions on their camera. And I'm like,
Man,
expensive,
every time I see spin move, I go, yo, I remember when you first started out.
right? So and here's the thing, and it might start a shitstorm, but whatever. Um, if you go to my wedding and you take pictures or video, whose property is that?
At your wedding,
Yeah.
it's your property until you buy it from them.
Okay, so if it's my property because I hire you, right? And that's about in general, right? If I hire you and you film or do whatever it is that your artistic talent is, I've paid you for your services. I haven't paid you for your art. I've paid you for your services, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So how come in semi-pro it's different?
Explain.
There are photographers and there's videographers that consider their work to be their property that you need permission for. And for even players to have access to or people to pick it up. And I get it to a certain extent when you're dealing with like freelance photographers and things like that. But I think a team and especially a league needs to have a very clear understanding as to what the media exchange is going to be and who that property belongs to. You got
Absolutely. Because can you just walk onto an NFL field and just take pictures of their players, their logo, their teams, their brand? You cannot. That's their property.
So who get right? So who gets a? And again, I'm not coming at photographers and videographers. Don't think I'm doing that. What I'm saying is this: the expectation from players, right? And they'll say, "Oh, support this guy. Oh, support this lady. Oh, support this, support that, whatever." But then you don't want a higher league fee. You don't want a higher team fee to compensate those people. Now, if I told you I'm completely making this up because every year I donate. And I think my finances are better than most. So let's say I made $50,000 a year owning the Patriots, which obviously is not true, right?
Well, let's just say you told
Right,
people, right? That's what we're doing. You told
right.
people.
So how many players would sit there and go, "Yo, that's crazy, that's wrong, blah 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 blah"? Like you hear constantly league owners say, "I don't make a dime off of semi-pro football." It's like the rallying cry of semi-pro football from owners of teams and owners of leagues. I don't make money. I don't make money. I literally don't make money off of semi-pro football, as though it is supposed to be a volunteer job. Why is it if I have a brand and people are willing to pay, like they do in women's football, by the way, if guys are willing to pay $1,000 a piece to play on my team because I'm that exclusive and I can make 50 grand, doesn't matter what my expenses are, I can make 50 grand. Why do so many players have a problem with that?
Ego. I'll
But
tell you right now, I would
logic
have a
thing.
problem with it.
This
I
is,
would. I
but
would be
that's
like,
a logic
man,
thing.
$1,000 to play for your team. The only way I would do that is if I'm getting something ridiculous.
But here's the thing: if you were getting $2,000 worth for 1,000, you would do it,
Absolutely.
right? But there are guys that'll sit there and go, nah, nah, nah. I'm getting $2,000 worth, but I know it costs you $500, so I only want to pay 500, even though the value of what I'm getting is 2,000. There's a bunch of dudes on your team like that because there's a bunch of dudes on my team like that will sit there and worry about what your cost is. They don't want to pay what I give them. They don't want to pay the value. And
Well,
again, this isn't a Patriot thing. This is a football thing. You see the
this
can of
is
worms they use.
this is bigger than football because we was having this conversation about black-owned businesses and people supporting black-owned businesses, and it's like
They
I
don't.
know you didn't pay, so give me the discount. And it's like, dude, how do I get?
They don't want the discount. They want your cost. They want you to give it to them at cost.
Yeah.
And semi-pro owners and league owners and team owners, and that's why again with the IFA it was easy for me and Mason to say, "Yo, kiss my ass. You want to go, go," because I'm giving you everything at cost. You know I'm giving you everything at cost. So if you think I'm gonna take your dumb shit for free of charge, now if you were paying $600-700, then okay, I give you a little customer service.
Or
But yo, you're paying
1200 like some of these other leagues, you know.
yeah, you're paying $150. We don't charge a hosted fee. You're not paying a registration fee. You're
You
not
don't
doing
have
any of
to
that.
get huddle.
You're not doing any of that shit.
Fifteen
It's a,
hundred dollars for the year.
right. You're paying $150 and you're paying your own insurance. What the fuck else you want? Oh, you want the schedule the way that you want it? Kiss my ass. No, the schedule's the schedule. And it's not even like a I'm right, you're wrong thing, but what am I willing to take for volunteer work
Right.
from a team owner that won't even get on a bus? I go on a bus to go up to them that they won't get on a bus to come down to me. What do I owe them?
Yeah, they could be undefeated 5-0 and won't get on a bus and go down to Brooklyn for nothing. Even if they know they'll beat them by 60, they won't do it.
Won't do it. Won't do it. So what do I owe you for $150? Now again, $700-800. Okay, $150. What? You're arguing about a $900 bill? And by the way, don't even want to acknowledge that there was one person that knew that the referees were not showing up, and that one person is the guy that you're doing business with now. Because Mason didn't know
business. That's bad business.
Yeah. Like he said, he done set you up, and you okay. All right, so have at it. So go through a cupcake schedule, beat everybody by 50, have fun, no problem. I can find other places to play. Literally, I've had 4 other offers in places to play next year. As long as I want to play football, I can play football. I can pick up the phone and play 3 games this weekend. It's not a big deal for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And with the talent roster that you have right now, like you guys would be just fine.
Even before that, even when we had 17 and 18-year-olds getting on buses crossing international borders. If it's not fun for me, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to sit here and be just have a headache over somebody who pays $150 to play fucking 6 games. Like, are you serious? Oh, home games, this and that. I don't care. And it's not I don't care like, oh, because these like, and again, the ignorant idiots that surround these programs, I guess the owners are not talking to them. Well, so they're a paying customer and this and that. They pay $150. What the fuck are you expecting?
You paid more than that to be on that team.
Yeah, you little raggedy ass. And then you're gonna sit there and wave the banner, and I know you ain't got 2 nickels to rub together. You can tell me about $900. I literally have 4 Mercedes Benzes in my driveway right now. I give a fuck about $900. I mean, it really has come to that. For what? And again, I don't like to be this way, but there's only so many times that, and it's not even me. Funny enough, the whole refereeing thing and the $900 and this and that, it was really Mason. And that's why it was funny when you asked me, do you mind coming on with Mason? Me and Mason are brothers with this thing. I would never let a football thing mess with me and Mason. Like, absolutely not. Definitely not.
I've seen guys fall out for something way thinner than this, so I had to ask. I had to make sure.
The only people, and it's funny, like, and you'll know, and you probably know who they are. There are plenty of people that are angry with me or think that I'm, this or that off of semi-pro football. If you actually ask them, what did Pat do to you? Nah, he's just an asshole. No. What specifically did he do to you? Nah, it wasn't that. They won't be able to name a particular thing that I did to them. It was just I helped them, and then I stopped helping them because they didn't appreciate my help. Or they didn't need help anymore, but they still wanted help. They won't tell you that.
I can attest to that actually for the general public out there. I know a couple people that don't like Patterson.
At
And
all?
it was I don't like him because he's a liar, he's a snake, he's this, he's that, he's a prick, he's blah blah blah. But if I say, all right, what was the situation? It was like, it just I never liked him. To go back. It was from this one game and he just rubbed me the wrong way. It's like, all right.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm an asshole because again, it's a $25,000 hobby, but none of them will tell you, what was it like when you were hanging out with Pat away from football? Well, I never did. And somebody else referred to me as, oh, well, we have a problem. I'm like, we don't have a problem. Like, you don't like the way I do business. And semi-pro to me is a business. Again, it's a hobby, but it's a business because there's too much money at stake for me to sit here and fuck around and listen to people that, again, don't have two nickels to rub together. So if I'm sitting here going, okay, got it. You don't like the way I do business. But when we hang out, when we have cigars, or when we're at a car show, or the other hobbies that you see when you see me on Facebook, right? You guys, any New York Patriot, I will literally on the Patriots page, on the Gators page, man cave open for the fight, man cave open for the game. Yo, backyard barbecue, this and that. Everybody's invited. People will not show up and sit there and be mad and say Pat has favorites. Well, yes, he has favorites. The people that show up to his barbecues, the people that show up when I invite them, those are the people that will see me in my element. But if we're talking football, and I tell you that you're just not very good at, cover two, or kick stepping, or your mechanics when it comes to reading a block as a running back. That's not okay. You didn't like that, but it has nothing to do with you as a person. I didn't say you're a bad father.
So, listen, Pat, we're going to go ahead and get off of here. But listen, I wish you the best of luck for the rest of the season. I'm pretty sure that we're going to see you again. For all those who don't know, we just played each other, this past Sunday, literally 2 days ago. It was a monsoon freaking in New York. It stopped for a quick second, thought we was going to have some good weather, and it started up again. But always a great game. We definitely will see you in a couple weeks.
Yeah. So to answer that IFA thing, I'm going to speak to Mason. We're going to see where we're at. I'm going to talk to the Crusaders, talk to the Falcons, see what the next move is, whether there are teams that are floating around or what have you. The whole idea of, and this is the last thing I swear, the word merge. Merge. Oh,
merge with the TFL. Merge with the TFA is what they call
it. merge. Now, again, you don't like your brand merged with any other brand, right? So, we've worked with the TFL. And again, I have no problem with the TFL. I didn't merge with anybody. The Patriots did not merge with the Gators. They're still a Patriots team. There's still a Gators team. So, guys like to throw that around as though, again, they're experts at anything and they don't really know what a merger is or what mergers and acquisitions are. I know you're a Merrill Lynch guy, so you know all about that. Yeah. Right. So, it's a really weird world. But yeah, I've already gotten conversations about this and that. So if the IFA is not around, will the Patriots be around? I don't know. I've already gotten offers to try to do a pro team, an arena team. Maybe I'll do arena with the Patriots. I prefer to do the IFA with the Patriots. That's obviously my first choice to do. Could the Patriots be a pro arena team next year? Possibly. Could they be they literally could be anywhere because, again, my name is, it could be anywhere except for one place. There's literally only one league that will not play.
I think we know what that league is.
That's literally it. And it's funny because that person that said, I'll say it, the Klansman Harmon actually said one time, and this is the first down the road, we were having a discussion about something. I think it was some legal contract thing, which he has a hard time spelling, but whatever. And he says to me, trying to get the exact freaking wording about Jesus. Trying to think of the exact wording that he used, but it was that fucking irritating that he really thought that I didn't understand what he was trying to do in terms of the branding and the labels and stuff. In fact, you know what? I'll say that for another time. But ultimately, again, the way that he moves and the things that he does, everybody that falls for it, God bless you and keep you far away from me. If that's what you want to sign up for it. No problem. When people go back, and even this week, the IFA, the Patriots, and I said, if you look at the scores, if you look at the schedule, it's pretty obvious what's going on. And if you have to look at what we're doing, and we had fun this week. I mean, it wasn't as fun as if we would won, but we had fun this weekend, and we're playing competitive football, and Now all of a sudden, crickets. Go
It was
figure.
a lot more fun when the Cardinals and the Warhawks was on one side and the Patriots and Falcons was on the other, and then you had the Bearcats and the Machine that matched up well with the
Yeah,
Huskies and the Crusaders and
it did. And by the
teams
way,
all over the place.
if we knew that the Norsemen would do that move, I would have put more resources into the Bearcats and let the Norsemen fold. We would have crippled that program. But again, we don't do that to people. We don't just dispose of people like that. That's not how we do business. But again, the exact words. Let me actually get back to it. The exact words Harvard said is that I understand why people don't mess with you or people don't deal with you. And I said, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Oh, what I heard about you from other league owners." Now, mind you, I'm like, other league owners. You heard somebody say something negative about me from another league owner. Now, first of all, I know nobody will sit there in confidence and tell you anything
Yeah,
because,
Sean Kelman
well, it was going to be Sean Kelman, right?
wasn't him. Black Coach Black wasn't him.
Well, it couldn't have been Al Chambliss because Al,
And Chandler's
right? The next one, Dexter Gervin,
Dexter. Yeah,
obviously wasn't him.
wasn't Dex.
And I was in this TV league, right?
Yep,
It wasn't JP because I was in the EFA at the time with the Gators, right? That's everybody.
that's everybody.
Yeah. So when I called him out, I said, "No, you didn't hear anything. I know for a fact you didn't hear anything from anybody." "Oh, no, 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 just trust me." I said, "No, David Birch. David Birch went to elementary school with my mom."
Oh, then no.
Yeah, yeah. Stop. Like this, the lying and the again. He had Vicky call when we were playing the Connecticut Brawl.
Oh, don't do that. Don't talk about that one.
Oh, you heard about that?
There's a lot of
I still have the text. Did you
stay
hear
away
about
from that. I'm gonna stay away from it. I
No,
don't.
nah, man, I saw the text message from that. I felt bad for Vicky too because I was on the highs when I heard from the municipality said this we have a woman calling saying that there's some concerns about your program. I said a woman, and then I get on the phone I'm like Vicky, what? He goes, well, Jim Harmon told me to call them and this and I said he's making Karen. So first he would call and tell the municipality I didn't have insurance.
She's
And
she tries her best. She is just a part of football, and she just wants to be a part of football. I feel so bad that she got caught up in that.
he really sent the white woman voice and the white woman mantra over to the municipality to
So
try
sweet.
to get my game canceled.
You're like,
Yeah. And then by the way, he tried to and then he messages me telling me that he's gonna cancel the refs. And the refs weren't even his. And I said, it was the morning of the game. I'm like, you're gonna cancel my referees? Like, you really think that that's gonna work? He goes, well, I'll just tell them it's too hot to play outside. I actually have this text message from Jim. So like he whenever and this is why I'm very cautious with him is because he has no boundaries. Like those areas where other people would just not go, he goes past that. And again, what do you expect out of a man that sends another man a picture of himself in a hot tub? Like it's it's crazy. That's why I say, I have no problem tossing a few toasters in your hot tub. I could care, but it's just nah. And dudes up there will mess with him, and they'll admit. And again, he doesn't do that. He doesn't flex with everybody because the big dog teams up there, have already talked about moving elsewhere based on his nonsense and such, and they just kind of tolerate him and let him do his little act. But I am in no way, shape, or form interested in his act, and the fact that he has me blocked. That's other funny shit, by the way. I don't block anybody, to a fault.
I know
I
you don't.
argue. I argue with people. To a fault, I pay attention to what people are saying. I'm getting better. I am getting better at ignoring, especially guys that like the dude from the Chargers who came down and we beat them with the Gators like 50-0. He got a whole bunch of issues or whatever. And he would say, "Yo, I'm a nobody, and you're a commissioner, and this and that." And I'm not a commissioner, by the way. That's the other thing. You're a commissioner and the coach, the owner, and this and that. No, I'm not. I'm an owner, and you're pissing me off. And I'm gonna take a sledgehammer to an ant. No problem. Like that's just what it is. I got a little bit of time today. So when it comes down to it, like these antics and such, he only pulls with certain people.
Yep.
Only certain people. But he has me blocked. I don't have him blocked. He did the whole lawsuit thing or whatever like that. My wife's a lawyer. I sent him a cease and desist letter because I know you don't want to knuckle up. You know what that's going to be about. Stop it, right? So then you try to play the whole Karen game. So I beat you at the Karen game. You already shown that you're gonna call the insurance thing, you're gonna call the municipalities and try to do things the Karen way. Cool. So I hit you with the cease and desist letter from the lawyer.
Yeah.
No problem. So then you do the whole, oh, you called police on me, and that's the whole I'm trying to be black routine when I'm not, and that's the awkward racism shit that he does. Oh, you call police, so now I have to block you to avoid you suing me. And that's the other part of his retardation is that he doesn't even understand that blocking me has nothing to do with slander in a court of law. But again, I don't expect anything else from him because when he was going through COVID, he had those contracts that he was trying to write up, and I had to spell check him for him because he couldn't spell shit right.
Well, listen, it's always a good time hanging out with you. Definitely got to get you back on the show later in the year. This year,
Appreciate
we're going to run the show all the way through the fall.
it. Nice.
So when things change over to Gator season, definitely going to link up with you again and get some takes on the EFA or the LAL because now you guys are in the LAL, I think. Am I right?
Indeed, indeed. I got an invitation for Patriots in the EFA. I was considering that. I gotta see again. When you have a brand and when you do the right thing and you have a product, people are gonna ask for it. That's it. I could do business in most places.
Success breeds more success. So listen, everybody, visit the ifafootball.org website. Definitely check out the rest of the IFA season. Got 2 big games coming up. Support the Patriots, support minor league football, support the Falcons. Appreciate everybody for coming out and watching. Support this man Patterson, man, because the IFA is actually a really good product, and hopefully he gets to put it back out next year. But if not, we wish you the best of luck.
Appreciate you.
All right, man. Take care.